From Hong Kong, Chicago, and the city of Stoke-on-Trent, this is the Classic Lenses podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 126. My name is Simon Forster and I'm joined by Johnny Sisson and Perry G. Hello, Johnny.
Hello.
Hello, Perry.
What's up?
And we're also joined, making a triumphant return. We have Lyndon Booth of Londinian Cameras. Hello, Lyndon.
Hello.
It's been a while since you were with us, Lyndon. We were just checking out the stats of the last podcast that you were on, which was back in February last year. Oof. And it is actually one of our most popular podcasts we've ever done.
Well, what can I say? I'm back again.
Yes. And if anybody wants to check that out, it is episode 57, and it's also called, it's one of my favourite titles that we've done actually. It was called When Fungus Attacks. So that's we're going to do a show largely about camera repairs, but we're going to go all over the place as well because Lyndon knows more than just camera repairs. So if you want to go back to that show, you'll hear some stuff, and we're going to cover a lot of ground today. But before we get going, This podcast is 2 days late, and so we do apologise for that. We did have a logistical error where one member of our crew decided to sleep in, but we're not going to identify that person. No. But on a completely unrelated topic, Johnny. You've been recently on a show where famously a co-host fell asleep on. How did that go?
Yeah, I woke up in time for the podcast on Monday at about 9 o'clock in the evening, and somehow found myself on Negative Positives podcast instead of this podcast. Don't know how that happened, but yeah, short little man from Los Angeles apparently fell asleep during the podcast.
That was hilarious. I listened to it today.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
It didn't fall again in your episode. Fall asleep again
he did.
In your episode, did he?
Yeah, and then he tried to rescue it.
Oh no.
That was my favorite part because Mike called him.
Yeah.
And you could hear the phone ringing from his side.
Right.
So his mic was on, and then you heard it go to his voicemail.
Right, exactly.
And then a couple minutes later, you hear Andre go, "Oh, sorry, I was on mute."
Oh, seriously, I didn't know that. I mean, I've got it downloaded. I've not listened to it yet, and I was just referring to I think it was episode. I forget which episode it was, but it was one where M was on. And, he was like snoring for 20 minutes.
He was snoring.
Yeah. And so it's happened again. It's happened twice. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Oh, okay. Well, look forward to having a listen to that. And just the fact that Johnny's on it should mean it's going to be well worth heading over to Negative Positives. Not that it's not worth listening to that anyway, because it is. But Johnny makes it extra special, doesn't he?
and they did finally. They did finally ask me one of the 20 odd questions you had posted for me, Simon, prior to that episode.
Well, you've told me that you asked. They asked one question. I was a bit disappointed, because I think I worked hard in those 3 minutes to come up with those 20 questions. Yeah. So don't tell me the answers.
I don't remember which question it was anymore. So it works out just fine.
Right, okay. Right. Well, anyway, we have absolutely shed loads of emails and questions as well. And what we're going to do, we're actually going to start off with some of the with the backlog of emails that we've got, and Lyndon's going to help us out with those if he can. And so, Johnny, do you want to make a start on them?
Yeah, on the questions. Sure, we can do that.
Well, yeah. Or just start with the first of the emails,
okay.
and then we'll get onto the questions as well.
Okay. Email number 1 from Vaughn Bromfeld. I believe that's the correct pronunciation. On July 28th, subject, hello again. Hello, Simon. Sorry to hear of your medical emergency recently. I am compelled to ask, was it a single or double stroke? Love your work as always. Regards, Vaughn.
Thank you, Vaughan. When that came through, I read that out to the guys. It was the timing was excellent.
Yeah, it was perfect.
And and I'm very happy to say it was neither a single or a double stroke. So that was very, very good news. But thank you all the same for writing it there, Vaughan. Thank you.
So speaking of double strokes, I think we have our first question to Lyndon, and
Yeah,
I want to ask you if you can fix something. So, in our little chat, Lyndon, I've just forwarded you two videos, 10-second, 7-second videos. The first video is my Leica M3. The second video is Johnny's Leica M3. They are both double strokes. Yep. And you will see that our cameras seem to have both jammed in the same way at the same time, where we have advanced the film, but the shutter button will not fire, and now it is jammed. And I've had this problem before, and I've had it CLA'd last year, and the problem has popped up again. And I'm wondering, A, is this a thing with double strokes? And B, can you fix it?
I'm glad you've asked me this question. This is a good one. Now, I personally have never seen that problem in my life. So I can only say that you're a very, very lucky man that you've both got exactly the same problem at exactly the same time. Something in stars, maybe?
Yeah.
They've got lenses with consecutive serial numbers on them as well. So I mean, there is something going on with these two.
Ooh, that is
Rare lens too. Yeah.
Well, one of you needs to sell the lens to the other, and then sell them as a pair. You double your money, no problem.
That's true. I had not thought of that.
Yeah, definitely. But no, I don't know what you've done there. What have you? Is the film? Is the film at the end or something? You both come to the end of the film and forgotten there's one in there.
To me, it happened on the third frame, and the camera was firing fine until I loaded the film, and then it jammed on around the third frame.
And mine was
not tried taking the film out.
No, I have. Yeah, I rewound the film and put it in a different camera. It's still jammed.
Yeah.
Mine was sitting on frame. Had been sitting on frame 23 since about March. Right about pandemic lockdown time when I stopped carrying that camera out of the house because it wasn't leaving the house.
So there's a three thing going on here then, isn't there?
Yeah.
So picked it up, chatting with Perry about his camera, and I'm like, well, hey, it's sitting right here on my counter. I'll take a picture of my cat, and advanced the film and went to fire, and it was like, nope, not firing.
So Perry, is yours wound on? Or is it just not firing, or is it stuck halfway? Is it mid wind or?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere mid wind. And when I had this dealt with previously, my repair guy told me that on the double stroke there's like a different winding mechanism because it sort of stops it, so that you have to do it twice, and that the gears had basically like something in there had jammed because of that mechanism. So I think I felt it jam as I was advancing the film.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I just couldn't advance it anymore and the shutter wouldn't fire.
Perry, that's a good point because when I did the double stroke, the second stroke was not, it felt a little short.
Yes.
I know. Yeah. Is it the same thing?
Yeah.
Because I noticed that thinking back on it now, I'm like, yeah, actually that second stroke felt like it was not quite like the full, you know what I mean? It felt so, and then it just simply didn't fire, which is weird. Right. I mean, it's never had a single glitch. So
yeah, no, it was exactly the same thing. On the second stroke, it went about halfway, and I recognized it because it's happened to mine before, and I was like, oh, not again. And because I was in the middle of shooting, I tried to press the shutter.
And mine is, it's the same age as yours. It's 65, 6, 7 years old. And mine, I know for a fact, has never, ever been opened up. So it's never been serviced, which it's just my opinion that the Leicas were never meant to go that long without being, I mean, Germans made stuff to be serviced by a professional, right? So the fact that it's gone that long without anything, I'm not thinking, well, screw this damn Leica. It's like, no, it was bound to do this sooner or later. It needs to be serviced at some point.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But Lyndon, are you aware of any
No.
Difference between double stroke and single stroke
Johnny
in terms of reliability?
No, not at all. But Johnny did make a comment that Leicas must be serviced by a proper, technician. So that really counts me out completely. What you need to get that back to a Leica person. He'll know what the problem is. He'll be straight in there. And luckily, there's lots of people out there servicing Leicas. Good reputable people. So you'll get it. You'll get it sorted. No problem.
So you can't fix it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, well, I'm sure we can find something that Lyndon can fix. So, what's the next one?
Let's see. Next up, I believe is either George or Jorge, depending maybe on where he hails from or something like that, or his parents hailed from, who named him, or something like that. But Jorge Grillo wrote us on the 29th of July, episode 122 is the subject. Hello there. I'm a little behind and about halfway through number 122. I thought I should contribute with some notes on field of view and focal lengths attached. Indeed, mathematically, 50 millimeters and 58 are very close. And the interesting result is that you can really just think of ratios of focal lengths to figure out how many steps back or forward to take. Hope you enjoy. Best, Jorge Grillo from San Diego. And he sent a very nice, very nice handwritten diagrammatic explanation.
We have 4 pages of notes here. Handwritten.
4 pages of trigonometry.
This is awesome.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.
Is that what those groups of numbers are called? I never got that far in the maths.
Just only the first part is trigonometry.
Okay, I thought it was great. So it was fun to look at, and provided that thing that Perry likes, he likes to have the mathematical reassurance of the kind of the gut instinct, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it does that nicely.
Yeah, I mean, it takes 4 pages of math to convince me that 50 millimeters and 58 millimeters are very close.
Right, exactly.
It's all good. I understand now.
I am right in thinking I'm looking at quadratic equations low down this page.
I think so. Yeah, on wait, where?
Certainly the bottom of page 2.
Page 2. Is that a quadratic? That's not a quadratic equation.
What is it then?
I don't know.
So there are definitely very complicated numbers here with answers.
So
no. It's triangles and angles. It's still like geometry. It's not it's not quadratic equation.
Oh, okay.
So
come on, you know the quadratic formula, right? Come on, recite it to your GCSE maths.
Oh my god,
that was a long time ago.
I know. I literally never got that far. And I read, when I was in high school, I read Einstein's theory of relativity, and I skipped all the math and just read his notes. I mean, I didn't need to see his math. I trust him. He's Einstein. So, but you skip the math and he gets to the good part. And so I skip all the way through the math, and at the bottom of page 3, it says, if the subject is at 3 meters versus, 5 meters versus, right? These are all in the realm of half a step. There you go, Johnny. And then he says on the next page, note number 3, keep in mind that the logic is reversed. If you're shooting with a 58 millimeter lens, you need to step back. If you're shooting with a 50 millimeter lens, you need to step forward.
That's what he meant by E = MC squared.
Right, exactly. Very simple. Very simple.
Wait. So, I mean, this is totally tangential, no pun intended. But they never forced you to memorize. Like when I did middle school math, maybe it was like upper primary school math here in Hong Kong. they made us like memorize the quadratic formula where we could get attached. No, seriously, we would like sit in class and be like minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac.
And what age did this take place at?
Like 10 or 11 for like we would just have to repeat that until it was drummed into our memory forever.
No, I got
so, like, the numbers you remember for life are like your student number at university and the quadratic equation.
No. I got booted out of normal classes in 7th grade and sent to the remedial classes where they basically just gave up on kids and were like, just do what you want. We're just babysitting you guys. So I was booted out of actual high education at that age. And I never got that far, Perry. I got to pre-algebra, which I basically flunked out of. So, and that was in high school. So no, they do not drill American children on quadratic equations before they hit puberty.
So Lyndon, how often do you have to use trigonometry and algebra when you're fixing cameras?
It's amazing how often it pops up. No, when I went to school, we quadratic equation. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you on about, man? No idea. I never went to university either. I've no idea. And if I'm supposed to be using it, I'm a bit worried. It's too late now. There's so many things I've not applied it to.
Don't worry, there's no quadratic equation in this.
There's a quadratic equation for your lack of quadratic equation.
This is helpful though. From Jordan. It's actually.
Can I ask a question? What was the original question? I've listened to you guys. I've no idea what we're talking about.
It was from a couple of episodes ago where I was talking about.
You're not the only one. Don't worry about that.
Oh, sorry. Well, if that's the case, carry on. Just move. No, move on.
we won't go through this again.
For Linda's sake, this refers to an episode episode 122, where Perry revealed to us that he was incapable of making a decision on his field of view or where to stand in the picture unless a ratio or a percentage can be applied to the difference between one shot and another. And just goes from there.
Have you seen that movie, A Beautiful Mind?
Yes.
Right. So where he's kind of walking around and he's having a psychotic breakdown and he's seeing numbers everywhere. That apparently is how Perry needs to walk around the world with a camera. Oh. He needs to see the numbers flying in front of his face while he's looking at things, which I think is amazing. And I would like you to get that on film, Perry. I want to see like the number overlay on your photo. That would be amazing. Like the math. I want to see like the math written out on a layer in white, like text over the photo. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll get Simon to 3D print some mathematical bright line viewfinder.
Mathematical bright line viewfinder, exactly.
For my glasses.
Heads up display. Okay, we'll go on to Kid
Richards.
Isn't he in like the Rolling Stones? What a name!
I think he is.
Keith Richards.
Kid Richards.
Just combined Kid Rock and Keith.
Yeah, I was going to say Kid Rock.
Kid Richards is like if Keith Richards had a son who's a pirate. It's Kid Richards. All right. July 29th. Did everybody write us on the same day? All right. July 29th. There's a subject. There's a classic lens in the International Space Station? Ooh. Exclamation point, question mark. Dear Simon, Johnny, and Perry, good morning. I hope you are well. My name is Kid, and I'm a pirate. No, my name is Kid, and I'm a film photographer based in Lisbon, Portugal, and a big fan of your podcast. So I'm sending you this email because this morning I was around Twitter and suddenly saw some photos from the International Space Station. As a curious guy about everything that concerns lenses and cameras, I checked these photos, and it looks to me that they are using an old lens out there. I can't figure out what lens it is, but it seems like a Canon FD or more likely an old Nikon. If so, it's really awesome and interesting that they're using it. So I thought you guys would like to check it out, or probably have more information about it attached, the screenshots for you guys to check. Let me thank you for your weekly work on the podcast. I'm always waiting for the new ones, and let me tell you that it always makes me smile and makes my day better. always. And I'm sure it makes the same thing to so many listeners around the world. Unfortunately, I'm not on Facebook anymore, but I'm thinking about getting back just to follow the group here. Please keep it up. Love from Portugal Kid.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's a Nikon. By the way, yeah, it's pretty well documented. You can go on Wikipedia and there's a list of all the cameras. But when I zoomed in, it's pretty clear that the lens of the back is some kind of Nikon lens. You can tell by the focus ring.
So it looks like a Super Paragon to me, but then again, you wouldn't understand what one of those is, though, would you, Perry?
Oh, it's NASA. Come on, they got more of a budget than that. So here's a list of cameras they got on the International Space Station. They have a Kodak 760C, which is the modified Nikon F5 with the Kodak thing on the bottom. And then they have a D1, a D2S, a D200, a D3, a D3X, a D3S, a D4, a D800E, a D5, and a Sony A7S II.
Wow. I wonder what that they are using that lens for. I'm trying to tell what's going on there.
Porn.
Yeah, porn. Exactly. No, but I mean, because obviously it's scientific equipment. It's not like it's facing out the window to get, tourist shots of the world flying by. So, that's pretty. Maybe we need to see if we can get on live on the podcast with NASA. The ISS, which would probably be easier than it was trying to get Ken Rockwell to come on.
It's true.
Yeah.
Although if you look at the second picture, I think it's a macro lens they've got on the big camera because it's really close to like a mirror with a bunch of condensation on it.
Right.
So maybe they're growing like space condensation.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it looks like to me, I was looking at that too, and it looks like they probably have that manual lens on there fixed at that screen.
Yeah.
And they're doing something, and so that lens is not ever changing focus, just sitting stationary, focused in one spot. I mean, why would you need any more complicated lens than they have on there? It totally makes sense.
Or another way to interpret it is that even NASA recognizes that autofocus is lame.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Totally unnecessary.
A quick observation, because I was chuckling to myself when you were reading the letter out there when it goes, so I thought you guys would like to check it out or probably have more information about it. I was thinking, yeah, right. And then Perry comes out and actually tells us. So well done, Classic Lenses podcast.
I mean, isn't it a relief that they're not using Canon FD lenses on the internet?
That's a huge relief. I mean, as an American taxpayer, I'd be kind of pissed if they were around with FD lenses in the outer space or whatever. On the taxpayer dollar, that would be a bad sign. Okay, shall we move forward? Yes, we shall. David Ortega wrote us on August 2nd. He wrote us about custom 3D printed housing for normal SLR lenses. Ooh, this has got Simon written all over it. Hey guys, been loving the show. I sent you greetings from Hot as Balls, California. Side note, before I ask my question, Johnny's voice reminds me of Adam Savage's voice. Also has a podcast and is the name Mythbusters Guy.
Huh. I've got to say, I mean, I used to watch a lot of Mythbusters. I'm not quite getting that myself, but I will say, if you ever listen to Homemade Camera podcast, Graham on the Homemade Camera podcast sounds exactly like Adam Savage, and Nick Lyle, I can't remember what the other guy's name on there, sounds exactly like him. I'm sure Mythbusters went on to make the Homemade Camera podcast. I'm pretty damn sure of
that. Quite possible. All right, back to the topic of the email. That's actually in the email. That was not me saying back to the topic of the email. That's in the email, just to be clear. Back to the topic of the email. Is it possible to make a lens and shutter combination out of an SLR lens? Let's say you 3D print the housing and have the right threading for the retaining rings. Then you mount the front element to a shutter of your choice. Then same for the rear. The one thing I'm thinking now that I write this is that if you were to use a 50 f2, then you'd lose out on some of the light if it's a 4.7 shutter, suggesting this was possible. I'm really trying to follow this. I know Perry goes to the magical shops in China where they put one thing on another. So TLDR, what's TLDR, Perry?
Too long didn't read. All
right, so too long didn't read. Could you 3D print a housing for an SLR lens and have it work on a 1F shutter? Then be able to use it on a custom camera for pano or some odd format or an Instax contraption.
That was LF, not 1F, so large format shutter.
LF. Okay, I was confused. I copied and pasted this into my notes, and it uses Times New Roman, which everything looks not like the right letters. I hate that font. Then be able to use it on a custom camera for pano. Okay, thanks for the show. Low key, kind of interested in how bad Malort is, but anyway, wish you good health and can't wait for the next podcast episode. Thanks, David Ortega. And then he's got his names, his @names everywhere. And it's a funny way of saying penguin in Insta.
Curly Pengling.
David, I would be interested to know David's demographic because he writes in those broken words with some uppercase and some lowercase that people above the age of like 40 are incapable of reading as if it was like Russian.
You, he is relatively young. He is either around my age or younger, but older than teenage because he doesn't say what the teenagers say these days. No, seriously, I like the kids, some of the students I teach who are like in their teens, they speak a language I just don't understand. It's like all TikTok speak.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like the phrase low key and TLDR, that's millennial speak for sure.
Yeah. And that's not in any way knocking it, David. I'm just trying to translate as a 51-year-old dude. That's all.
This is my generation. It's all good.
Yeah. Okay. That's why I got Perry here.
I have no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Well, this is a rare email that I actually get everything that he was saying there, and it's largely it's more of a large format question in terms of how large format lenses work. In that, generally speaking, you have a shutter and then you screw your optical. Right. Let's call them two. You have two optical blocks, and you screw one at the front of it and one at the back.
Right.
And the shutter sits in the middle, and also the shutter has an aperture mechanism with it at the same time. They're not the same, not usually the same thing. They're usually independent of each other, but I guess it could be possible that they could do both things, but that gets a bit messy. It's like deconstructing an SLR lens and then reconstructing it with a shutter and aperture mechanism in the center of it. And I'm hoping that Lyndon's following this one as well, because it might be able to shed some light on how possible it is. But from my perspective, is that it's going to be possible to make a housing to hold the individual elements that, in theory, would be pretty straightforward, and there's going to be some kind of air gap which you would be able to insert the shutter between some of the elements. But there's a couple of issues there, and there's going to be, I can never remember it, whether it's a nodal point or something, but there's a point where the light crosses over, and that is the absolute best place to put the shutter and the iris. The question will be: would you actually have enough space to put things into that area? And the point is, where the point of light is the best place to put it, because instead of actually trying to shut off a some collimated light that's going straight back towards the film plane, it's triangular in shape, and so it's a cone to a cone, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be interfering with the light flow with the shutter action. How that works with the aperture, I'm not entirely sure. Again, Linda might be able to help me out on that one. But in theory, it's absolutely possible. The biggest issue you would have with 3D printing your own lens housing is accuracy, because you can get pretty accurate with a 3D printer, but to actually get all the elements to be held in exactly the right place, you can get one accurate, you might be able to get two accurate against each other, but as soon as the more elements you put in there, the harder it is, because any one of those things is going to knock everything else out. So
right. And I mean, with a large format lens, you've got a front group and a rear group that are independent. I mean, they're complete, right? They've come from the factory complete that way, and you just screw them with a shutter in between. But having to rehouse everything to be able to separate it out of an SLR lens, I think would be exceedingly complicated to do with accuracy.
What you need to do is get a lens that the front and rear elements are already self-contained. Yeah, and I reckon the easiest lens is going to be something like a Pentax, standard lens, PK 50mm 1.7, something like that, or a Nikon, where you literally can take the optics and the aperture out as a single unit. They come out as a barrel almost on most of them. And then you can unscrew the front section, unscrew the rear section, measure the distances between the optics and the aperture, and then 3D print whatever you need to connect, those parts together. That's your easiest avenue, because then that's literally all you have to work out, the air gap and the position of the shutter and aperture between the two.
But would you have enough space in such a lens to actually insert a large format shutter? That's going to be the issue, isn't it? You'd
have to take it apart and just measure it up and see what you were coming out at. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. But in theory, you should be okay. But you might, being a large format shutter, you've got no markings on what the aperture might be, so you're going to have to fudge that afterwards, aren't you?
Well, the other part is when you look at large format shutters, fast large format shutters tend to top out to say f4.5, and I'm just wondering if there's just not going to be enough of a gap, generally speaking, for the light to travel through at the full aperture, or does that not is that a different thing to be talking about, because the actual projected image circle is so much smaller, so therefore I assume the light rays are going to be smaller as well, as in the diameter of them.
So if it's a 50mm lens, a large, say a standard Compure is probably going to be comparable, to the aperture that's in a standard 50mm lens. I would say it's going to be close anyway.
Yeah.
Again, it's a matter of taking it apart, measuring it up, and just seeing what you've got. So you might have to have a little bit of trial and error. But that's your best option. Something that you can take all the optics out in a single barrel that will unscrew the front, unscrew the back, and just leave the aperture assembly.
Right.
And then there's no worries.
Now, I've got to say, as mentioned at the top of the show, we talked already about the Homemade Camera podcast, and they all listen to this show, so they're all listening to this at this moment. And so Nick, Graham, and Ethan, this is a challenge for you if you can pull this one off. But or just tell us, and you can do that on one of your shows, and we'll link it to it. But can you do what David has asked? Is that feasible, and what problems might you have and might encounter? And it'd be good. It'll be great if you could actually just take that on as a thought challenge, if nothing else. So over to you guys.
Hey, Lyndon. While we're talking about leaf shutters, I asked you this earlier, but I figured I'd just ask it on air as well. When it comes to like copal shutters or synchro compor shutters, are the sizes standardized for like the shutter blades? Because like I have a camera where one of the shutter blades has like sliced into another one, and the repair doesn't sound like it'll be too difficult, but it requires a replacement shutter blade. So is that standardized, or is that lens specific for leaf shutters?
No, the blades are going to be relatively specific between types. So a synchro compure and a compure. I don't know off the top of my head, but I wouldn't have thought they're going to be interchangeable. Obviously, you've got different sizes of shutters. 0. So yeah, but broadly speaking, I've looked in my book because we spoke about this earlier, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them are going to be interchangeable, given that they're the same age. So a compure rapid and a synchro compure probably are going to be the same. But there's going to be 3 types of blades in there. There's going to be a top, and there's going to be a bottom, and everything in between. So as long as you select the right one, you should be absolutely fine. And there's lots of scrap shutters out there from lots of cameras, so you'll have no problem finding a workshop that's got a spare one that could just pop it in.
Sweet. So just to clarify, so I don't need to find an exact copy of that exact lens. I just need to find one that's the same shutter type and the same size.
Yes, relatively speaking, yeah. It's quite a large question you've asked me, but yeah, relatively speaking, yeah. If you can get as close to it as possible, you should be fine. Yeah.
Sweet.
Alrighty.
But hang on, what was this shutter on? What was this camera you've?
It's on a folding camera.
It's on a what? Sorry, Perry. Is this a camera you're going to use though, Perry? You're going to use this folding camera
for rustic photos?
I quite like it.
I'm pretty sure that you said some bad things about folders the other day.
No, but
maybe I'm wrong.
Well, but this is the Classic Lenses podcast, right? So bad lenses are actually good.
Oh, stir that pot, Perry.
Good luck on Facebook later.
Oh, come on. So well, I'm sure we'll mention folders again as we go through this episode. But I have realized I actually just bought another folding lens today, so they're not bad. But do you know what I mean, Lyndon? What I was saying, not that they're bad lenses, but they don't have the, resolving power and refinement of some of their non-folding counterparts. With exceptions, of course. And let me qualify this statement. I think on 35 millimeter folding cameras, there are some really, really sweet lenses. For example, the Rodenstock Heligon on the Kodak Retina is one of my favorite lenses of all time. I think it's amazing. I'm talking about medium format here, specifically. And my general sweeping generalization is that the lenses on medium format folders are not as good as the lenses on medium format SLRs or non-folding rangefinders.
What about a Ross Express? Is that a good lens?
Ross Express? A Ross London?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
They do a nice Ross Express on a Ensign Selfix 820. That's a nice lens, isn't it?
Oh yeah, those are crazy in demand here. They're expensive as hell.
That's one. What about, I don't know, something like a Taylor Hobson Royaltel on a Kershaw Curlew 3. What's that? Taylor Hobson?
No. I hear the word Taylor Hobson and I want it, but I don't know what everything else that comes after.
Do a little search for a Kershaw Curlew 3.
Hey, spell that for me.
Lens. Yeah, sure. KERSHAW.
Sweet.
And Curlew, CURLEW. There you go. That's another one to buy. That's just 2. I'm just giving you 2 examples.
Okay.
All right, but I can always chip in with some more later.
All right, let's do that. I want this now. Shut up.
I won't mention the Voigtlander Heliar, which is on lots of folding cameras.
Oh yeah, we had a conversation about that lens last night.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
We did indeed. Perry suggested I rip it out of my Voigtlander Bessa 2. Well, that's not entirely true.
No, that's not true at all.
Because I brought up the idea of ripping it out of the Voigtlander Bessa 2 and putting it in the Voigtlander Bessa 1, which I consider to be a better camera, rangefinder, useless rangefinder notwithstanding. It's actually the Bessa 1 has a double exposure interlock, which to me makes it a highly more usable camera than the Bessa 2. Anyway, different topic.
Wait, but while we're on the subject of folders, this is actually a good place to ask that other question we were talking about, which is, to what extent can you take a lens off of one folder and put it onto another folder if they're the same focal length?
You'll have to measure the rear element to the focal plane, and shim it accordingly. But in theory, as long as it's not too far out, which they're normally roughly the same, you should be okay.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. So in theory, but a lot of these things in theory don't always work.
Right. Right. I mean, it doesn't take it being off much at all for it not. I mean, it'll work, but your focus will be wonky.
Yeah, you'll have to shim and then
just right. Yeah,
collimation. Yeah, but it's possible. But you can't always put one shutter onto another camera because alignment holes and all sorts. You might find it fouls as you try and fold it up if it's a slightly different type. So you've got to be a little bit careful.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can I just point out, Simon, in 5 minutes of this episode, Lyndon has done a better job representing England than you have in every episode. Because, I have the hugest boner for English lenses. I love English lenses. I think they're just the most beautiful rendering things on the planet. Simon, the words Ross London or Ensign have almost never come out of your mouth. Right, or Ray London has never come out of your mouth. We heard maybe Dalmeyer once or twice. We heard Corfield once or twice, mostly in the context of dissing it. Just saying.
I'm pretty sure I've mentioned Ray and Ross when I've been talking about enlarger lenses in the depths of time.
I can confirm that. Yes, he has.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right.
All right. Moving right along to Nick Orloff. Hey, Nick. Sunday, August 2nd. Why these focal lengths? ? Dear Perry, Johnny, and Simon. Greetings from newly locked down Melbourne. I know that there are some lenses of differing focal lengths. I've recently bought a Rokkor 55mm, for example. But the standards for 35mm seem to be 24mm, 28mm, 35mm, 50mm, 85mm, 105mm, and so on. Why? What makes them the standard, regular, typical focal lengths? Is there a historical reason, a mathematical reason? Why don't we have 23, 27, 36, 48, 80, and 110 as our usual focal lengths? Thanks, Nick D. Orloff. Well, you can blame it all on Leica. Should we start there?
Yeah.
So I could probably find somewhere where I read this, but seeing as how the Leica took 35mm cine film, right, and built basically a still camera around that existing format. Apparently, the standard focal length of cine cameras at the time. Oh, I'm going to screw this up. There's a whole story here, but what it equates to is 50mm, because it was the standard of what was going on with cine cameras, or maybe it was 100mm and it was half of that. I don't remember, but you can pretty much blame it on Leica because they originated 35mm, cameras, and it had to do with the film format and existing cine cameras at the time, is my understanding. Now, whether that explains everything, I don't know. But if you look at the focal lengths listed on, that list of focal lengths that were given out, they originated many of those, right? So for 35mm, such as the 28, the 35, and the 50, obviously, right? And I think maybe even the 105. So yeah, the short answer is I think we blame it on Leica because everybody followed their lead. But I mean, there's probably more to it than that. They're also logical focal lengths in terms of separation between working distance, right? I mean, it wouldn't make sense to have, say, a 50 and a 55 millimeter lens because they both basically do the same thing. But it would make sense to have an 85 and a 35 and a 50 because they're different enough in field of view.
Well, the other one there. I mean, there's some logic in there as well with the 50 and the 35. 50 is relatively close to normal vision. 35. Well, I'm just going to say it's 35 and it's just knock off 15. But if you add, and Perry's going to love this because he would never have noticed this, and that's if you add 35 to 50, you get 85. And if you multiply 35 by 3, you get 105. So that's just blown his head.
Whoa!
Yeah. And the other thing is just going wider, and I think this is with 28 and 24. Well, it's 35 was a nice general angle of view, but then you go as we know, if we go wider, and this can be explained in percentage terms. If we go wider, you don't have to go. You don't have to use many millimeters to go significantly wider in your fields of view. Right. But why they actually picked out 28 instead of 25, not entirely sure. So I guess that might the 24 and the 28. I'm guessing that they're going to be quite arbitrary figures.
Well, and to the other question, why don't we have 23, 27, 36? We actually do, but they get rounded to the standard focal lengths because, people are used to hearing about a 35 millimeter lens or a 50 millimeter lens versus a 48. But that doesn't mean that all lenses are exactly precisely those numbers in actuality. So there's a good deal of rounding that happens. If you're selling a 28 millimeter lens, it could be a 30 or it could be a 27 in actual fact.
There's a strong opinion that the KARL Zeiss 25 millimeter 2.8 for contact Yashica is actually a 27. And the 28 is, I'm not sure if it's actually not that much. It's not that much narrower. And there's also a view that the 28 is a superior lens to the 25, but of course the 25 being 25 is more expensive.
Right. Different optical design, et cetera, et cetera. So it would be a good question. Also for Jason Lane, who could probably shed some very logical light on why those particular focal lengths. But I do think it has to do with basically, doubling angles of view and so forth you can only sell so many lenses, right? Or at least back in the day you could. I mean, so it made more sense if you had if Leica was selling a 50, it made more sense if they're going to make a wider angle lens that it's a 35. And it was probably also more within their capabilities at that point in time too. But I mean, they did come out with a 35 and a 28 at about the same time. They didn't make a 24, I think, until the 90s. Leica never had sold a 24 millimeter lens. It just wasn't what they did. But anyway, they had those other focal lengths pretty much quite early on. And yeah, I think you can, like I said, I think you can harken back to Leica as setting the trend for introducing those lenses, and then everybody else made their version of that lens and that focal length, more or less. Okay. All right. Moving right along. Sorry about that. Hey, it's Theo. Simon, you're the one who can pronounce Theo's last name.
That is correct. I can.
Yes.
So go on, Johnny.
Could you do so, please?
Go on, after you.
Theo Takuma writes us Thursday, August 6th.
It's Theo Biddulph.
Thank you, Simon. Simon can say Biddulph, and I can say Takamar. So, subject: repair questions. Hi guys, I have a couple of questions for what's that? Simon, can you pronounce that one? I can't pronounce that one either.
That would be Linden.
Thank you very much. Just kidding there, Barry Lyndon. We got you covered. Okay. I have a couple of questions for Lyndon. I have an Olympus Pen 38mm 1.8, which has a really sticky aperture. I have one of those too, and is therefore unusable. Other than that, it's in relatively good shape. It has a tiny amount of fungus, and I'd love to use it. Any tips on unsticking apertures on the Olympus Pen lenses? That's question number one. Yeah. Question number two, rangefinder on my Voigtlander R4M is no longer aligned. There's a shocker. Neither's mine on my Voigtlander.
I'm just thinking, Johnny. Should we do these as
yeah, you want to do them rather than read them all? Yeah. Okay. Go. Yeah. All right. So Olympus Pen lenses unsticking aperture blades. Over to you.
Okay. Well, there's not normally an easy answer with those. You've normally got to take the whole thing apart. Get all the blades out, clean it all out, and pop it back together. There's not any, there's some lenses you can take the rear mount off, and it's just the connecting levers that have got a little bit of oil from the focusing threads on them. But normally with those pen lenses, it's all the way through. So now there's no quick fix, and I wouldn't recommend taking one of those apart as a first attempt at a repair. Oh God, yeah. Maybe practice on a Super Paragon first, and then move on.
Yeah, I've taken one of those apart, and it is a complex. Every single lens is different for the pens, and the rear part has like a bunch of moving bits attached to it that have to line up, and it's annoying.
Yes.
Okay,
but the Voigtlander, that's a modern camera, isn't it? So
that's easy to fix.
Well, it probably is. I mean, there's normally little access windows, under things like the hot shoe or, somewhere that you can adjust these things easily. But I couldn't tell you where they are because it's a modern thing and I just don't touch them.
I've done it on the Voigtlander Bessas, the R's.
Yeah, it's going to be the same place, isn't it?
Yeah, the adjustment screw for the horizontal alignment, if your infinity is off, which is pretty much the only one you want to touch by yourself, I think. It's under the hot shoe. So there's a cover on the hot shoe that you just kind of lift and pop out. And then there's you can find diagrams of this online, but you just have to unscrew a screw and the adjustment screw is underneath.
Yeah. So get yourself some decent screwdrivers, not cheap ones. And you'd probably be able to do that relatively easily. Maybe even I could do
it. I'll finish up with a question. He basically said I didn't notice at first, but when I'm at infinity on lenses, the patch isn't aligned. Love to repair this myself, if possible. A bit short on cash at the moment. Daycare is so expensive, but wouldn't want to break the cameras or anything. I should be especially worried about anyone who has anyone who knows where I can find information on the web. There are quite a few dead links on the forums, so Perry knows about this, as he just stated. So. Next question, Lyndon, do you repair Minolta auto cords? If not, do you know anyone who does? Stay safe, everyone. Theo.
Yeah, I can do. I can probably do an auto cord for him. It depends. I try not to delve into too much into the focus mechanisms on those. But to be honest with you, most TLRs, the main fault is the shutter. Sticky shutter. So yeah, no problem.
Oh, can I ask a question about the Olympus Pen lens? So one thing that I've been desperate to do is I have a Cook Speed Pancro, a 35mm f2, which does not cover 35mm film. It doesn't cover a full frame, but it will easily cover APS-C or half frame. And I'm currently stuck using that on a digital camera, which I would like to try to shoot it on film. And the only camera on which I think, A, the register distance is short enough, and B, I could focus it, is an Olympus Pen. And it's perfect because it's half frame, so it'll actually cover. Now, my question is there any way to get an optical block of a Cook Speed Pancro onto a Pen F mount? Because I really want to do that. I want to do that so bad. And I have a sacrificial 38 1.8 that I'm willing to kill for it. But that lens has so much extra stuff sticking out on the mount that I don't think it's going to work.
I've no idea. No idea. What you could do, this is an easy fix. Get yourself 2 cardboard tubes, one slightly smaller than the other. Attach your lens to it, and you can just slide it in and out, and there's your focus.
Hey,
Nice and easy. Bit of give and take.
You're turning my Cook Speed Pancro into a SEMA soft.
exactly.
Oh crikey! No, I don't know, Perry. I'd have to see it. I'd have to see it. It could be completely incompatible. No idea.
All right.
You want these people that DIY cameras? They probably do it all the time.
I mean, people put them on all kinds of mounts. I just haven't seen anyone do it on a Pen F, which to me is logical if you're going to shoot film with it.
Yeah, that would be super cool. Most definitely. All right. Well, moving right along. Eric Erling wrote us on the 9th of August. That was just the other day, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. It was. Question to Lyndon. Hi, thanks for the great podcast. My question for Lyndon: what camera, 35 or medium format, do you think is most serviceable and will live the longest? BR Eric Erling, Sweden. BR. What is BR?
Best regards.
Best regards, Eric Erling. Even Simon knew that one. I'm just the really cool guy that doesn't know that one. BR Eric Erling, Sweden.
So what's the best SLR or TLR? Did you say?
What camera, 35 millimeter or medium format, do you think is the most serviceable and will live the longest?
Well, I mean, 35 mil. It's got to be Leica, isn't it? Probably any Leica, because I think of all the cameras out there, they're the best serviced by repair shops and by people that are, will keep them going still manufacture parts in the future. So I would say a Leica for your 35 mil, and probably Rolleiflex. Rolly called Rolleiflex as a medium format camera, relatively simple. And again, you're going to have lots of spare parts out there for them. And if you're going to make parts, they're going to be worth making parts for. Whereas your cheaper cameras, it won't become economic. But yeah, probably Rollies, not 35 mil Rollies, definitely not those.
No.
Yeah. And Leicas, yeah, definitely.
All right, good. That's.
I mean,
very,
what do you guys think?
I would have said box brownie.
Okay. Yeah, not a folder. No,
barely a camera.
No, because folders, servicing them is annoying because when you get bellows holes, then that's a pain in the butt, right? But a box brownie, I mean, Simon can make bellows.
Was he making bellows last week?
I was attempting to make bellows. There's a better way of putting it.
Yeah. So no, your bellows argument, no good.
Yeah. I've got to say, yeah, you're I'm actually slightly disappointed in that answer, Lyndon. Not because of any kind of lack of accuracy, because it is thoroughly grounded and I think it's quite possibly inarguable. But I was just hoping that it was going to be something else in there. But you're absolutely right. I mean, whether it be a Nikon F or some other mechanical camera, as you say, you've got parts fail on all cameras, and yeah, you might have a relatively simple camera, but if a widget breaks on your whatever this is, this simple camera, and you don't have the means to fabricate it yourself, and nobody else is going to do it unless you pay a lot of money for it, then that's it. Whereas Rollies and Leicas, yeah, there's such an industry around them that they are going to go for a very, very long time. It's just a simple fact.
And
they're the best providers.
Yeah, I mean, like if you the thing with a Rolleiflex, for example, is you can still get replacement mirrors for them relatively easily. And so, on a 35 millimeter SLR or a camera where if your mirror gets like corrosion or something or gets desilvered, that's incredibly difficult to replace. So the fact that those parts are like being made by people, not just spare parts, I think also makes a big difference, right?
Yeah. I was going to say the other one's going to be almost anything unbranded and made by Casina is probably going to live as long as cockroaches in a nuclear winter.
Do that.
Do you ever get any? Well, I was going to say, do you ever get any Casinas? No, any Casinas to repair?
Get any cockroach?
Yeah, but there's a reasonable chance that if you've got a broken Casina, you wouldn't send it off for repair, so you probably wouldn't see one anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I tend not to see the lower end of the market simply because people, they go, I can buy another one on eBay for 20, 30 quid. Why do I need to get this repaired? I can just keep on buying another one forever. But talking about things in cameras, I don't get cockroaches in cameras, but you do get camera bugs. So, and they're not very nice either. I don't know. Have you ever seen a camera bug?
George Fielder had one yesterday. Yeah. He had a bug running across the aperture of one of his lenses.
Oh, that's even worse.
But Lyndon, it sounds like you have a very specific type of bug in mind. That
yes, I don't know what it is. You'd need like a biologist or someone to identify it. But it's a bug that lives in cameras, and what they'll tend to do is eat stuff in the camera. I don't know what it is, and then before they die, they climb onto the focusing screen, sit there right in the middle, and just die.
Like an elephant graveyard. I've got to reach it. I've got to reach the center of the focus screen.
Yeah. And it's not nice to if you see one that's not quite dead, but he's heading for the screen. He's kind of and he's slightly crawling across. You put it up to your eye. It's not nice. Nobody wants to see that. But I did have a case years ago where a camera was infested with these camera bugs. They crawled onto the film, and somebody had taken a picture, and you could see. Must have been a family, 3 or 4 of them on the film, in the picture. It was horrible.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
You've never come across this though?
No.
I sound like I'm making it up now.
No, I've seen other people with like dead bugs in their lenses, but I've never heard of this family of bugs on the film before.
Yeah,
that's on the day trip.
Maybe it's only in the UK. Bugs going to be specific, aren't they? But it's a real thing, and it's not anything. It's a specific creature.
This sounds right to me as well, because we have, when I was at Central Camera, we would get cameras that had bugs in them, and they always seemed to be the same type of bug. So I think this is totally on the mark.
We talked about this quite in the early days, because I've had it mentioned to me about specifically to do with the Olympus ever-ready cases, and they seem to like there was a bug that, and again, just like Linda's talking here, it was almost like an Olympus ever-ready case bug. They came from nowhere. Science had not seen them before until Everready started. Olympus started making Everready cases, and then they would once they've eaten all the glue and stuff in the case, then they would go hunting for more inside Olympus lenses, which is one of the reasons why Olympus lenses seem to. I don't know if you can bear this out, but Lyndon, but Olympus lenses seem to be one of the worst brands for fungus. I mean, would you go along with that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, Simon, sorry. That's why they're called OM lenses. The OM stands for Om Nom 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 Nom.
So I thought it might have been Olympus Might. Well, there you go.
Oh,
yeah.
I do know that my coworker Charles at Central Camera, he did have a very vivid story about a box of used camera equipment that came in and taking the lens off like a beat up old Nikon, and just cockroaches coming out of it.
Oh,
yeah, talk about a nightmare. So things like that do happen.
I think let's just take a short break from reading the questions, because I want to go down memory lane to episode 57. When we had Lyndon on last time, because shortly after recording that show, I was chatting to Lyndon, and Linda goes, "You never never gave me the chance to finish off my radioactive lens story." And because I've obviously cut across him part way through it, so I think now we should head back to episode 57, and I'm apologising for interrupting you. And would you like to continue and potentially start all over again your radioactive lens story, Lyndon?
Well, it all stems from when I used to work. Well, my first job, which was in a camera shop, so mid-90s. And what we tended to do is we'd go to lots of MOD auctions, the government surplus.
Just for around the world, that's Ministry of Defence.
So, and they would sell off, something would go out of date, like a Nikon FM. Obviously, that goes out of date, doesn't it? So they would they would have expiry dates on stuff. So once it had reached that, it went into stores, and then it was eventually sold. And we used to buy lots of Pentax Spotmatics and lots of lenses for them, Rolleiflexes, quite a lot of Polaroid Shackman Polaroid cameras. I don't know if you've seen those, Simon.
No.
Do you guys know them? I think no. But basically, these cameras were fixed in front of oscilloscopes, Polaroid back on them. A flat field copy lens on the front. So we see loads of those. Nikon FMs, and again, lots of lenses for them. But the thing we never saw, which was really odd, we never found any standard lenses for Pentax Spotmatics. So after a few years, my boss was quite friendly with the people that used to work in the stores, and he'd go there on a regular basis, so he knew them. And he said one day, "Where are all the 50mm lenses?" And it turns out, before any of this stuff is sold, someone goes around with a Geiger counter, checking for anything slightly radioactive, and all the 50mm lenses from these Spotmatics that showed any signs of radioactivity, which they probably would have, they buried in a deep pit, filled them with concrete.
Oh.
So when I say we bought a lot of Spotmatics, I'm not talking one or two. I'm talking hundreds of them.
Wow.
So there's somewhere out there. There's a gold mine. If anyone can find it,
And chip the concrete away.
It might be next to a nuclear missile, though. So that's your only problem. Put it in the same place.
Wow, that is excellent.
That's fantastic. And this is in England, I assume.
Yeah. Somebody with a clipboard went round and said, "Oh, that's slightly radioactive. Must get rid of all of those."
Oh man, someone's got to go around with a Geiger counter trying to find that now, because it seems like digging stuff up in England randomly is a good thing to do anyway. Like, what was it in Leicester that they dug up a couple years ago, and everyone got super excited about that? Some skeleton.
That was
King Henry, was it?
No, not Henry. The nasty one. The one that gets a bad rep.
Richard,
the one with
right?
the hump. King Richard.
Yeah.
They found him in a car park.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah, he was under a car park. Yeah.
Yeah, some random thing in Leicester, and then they got all excited. So
Yeah. Can we just talk about Cheddar Man for a minute?
what?
Since we're on the topic. Yeah, did you guys see this in the news? They found the remains of, I guess, I don't know the location, whatever they call him, Cheddar Man, but it's DNA. It's like 300 generations back. And they found some guy living a mile away with the same DNA. The had not moved for 300 generations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can say no more. So
it would be the equivalent of like somewhere in Alabama, they found remains of 300 generations ago, and surprise, the family still lives in the area.
Yeah, this is going to be a touchy subject, because technically that's like all part of the southwest of England, which Linden is also part of. You see, so, best be careful there, really.
Although, let's give praise to the BBC. I just pulled up the BBC article about this, and let's praise their sub headline, because their second sort of subheading is extra mature cheddar. Outstanding.
Oh, dear.
Oh,
great story.
Yeah, very good story. And does that bring us to that brings us to the end of the emails? Oh,
wait. Lyndon, I want to ask you a follow up on the previous email about like the easiest to service.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, the longest lasting, wasn't it, rather than the easiest?
Right. Other end of the spectrum. My go-to repair guy here in Hong Kong has a few types of cameras that he just won't touch.
I'll stop you there. You're going to say, which is the camera that's just not going to last 5 minutes? A Centon. If you've got a Centon, just chuck it out now, even if it's working. Is that what you're going to ask me?
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you what types of cameras not are going to last the least. But which ones will you not touch with a 10-foot pole because of their complexity?
Centon. Right. No, complexity, no, but Centon.
Now, Centons, aren't they just rehashed Minoltas, or is there something going on there that they're not even that?
Some of them are. Yeah, is it the DF300 is allegedly a Minolta X300. But it's like someone got hold of the blueprints of a camera and said, "How can we make this worse?"
Jeez.
Yeah, those are those Chinese knockoff Minoltas.
Yeah.
They basically sold the.
No, I don't think they weren't knockoffs. They were genuine, weren't they? I think Minolta bought the.
no.
Sorry, didn't they sell the tooling to them?
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah, but I mean, they every part that was formerly made of metal was now made of plastic, kind of thing. They, so it's the basic design of the same camera built to a far lower standard.
Oh, it's made by Seagull. Say no more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure for the price they're good value. But you get what you pay for. But they're awful. On the inside of the mirror box, they've got sort of plastic covers, and they eventually just shrink and then curl up at the edges, so the mirror just slams into them. It just jams it up. Awful things. Awful.
Wow.
I'd rather fix the Zenit.
Yeah. Ooh.
So, Lyndon, I have a question for you. And let's say this is a theoretical question. Let's say that, a theoretical repairman, not you.
Okay, yeah.
Not you, but in theory, would a repairman, say, handed with the prospect of fixing a camera truly not worth the time and effort to fix, but maybe someone was really determined to fix that camera, would that said repairman ever possibly consider taking the cover off that camera with the serial number and putting it on a working camera of the same make and simply returning it? Would a repairman ever consider doing such a thing? I'm wondering.
It's a very interesting question, and if you asked me that question, I'd say no, they would never do that. But if you asked another repair person, I would say it's quite probable that they would, and probable that they have in the past. But I would certainly never condone that sort of activity.
That is exactly what I was wondering. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a philosophical question here, right? Because if you have two cameras and you start just exchanging the parts, at what point does the first camera just become the second camera?
At the point where they've paid you.
Johnny, that was quite a very specific question there. Is there more that you can tell us about this?
No, I mean, I was
knowledge.
No, I was just curious because I've heard tell of from people in the camera world, let's say former guests on this program who are highly knowledgeable of specific brands of cameras that might start with the letter N, have told tell of the fact that some other cameras made by other manufacturers, maybe starting with the letter C, that rather than fixing said cameras, that it may have occurred somewhere in the repair industry that they simply took the lid off of the non-working camera and exchanged out a working body with that said lid again, so that the camera would appear to have been repaired, but underneath the top lid with the serial number, it was just a replacement camera.
I mean, that could be just a service exchange. I mean,
yeah, so not illegitimate in any way, really.
No. It depends if the customer knew that's what was happening or not, I suppose.
Right.
And how much they paid and guarantee and all the rest of it.
Right.
But more than that, I couldn't really say anything more than that.
That makes sense. It could be an American thing too.
It could be. There are so many stories I can't tell you.
Well, I've stopped the recording now, Lyndon. So please start with one of those stories.
Maybe another time, Simon. You might have to buy me a pint.
I was just going to say, Simon, this sounds like something that involves alcohol.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I think that's totally legit, by the way. Just because if someone is getting a camera fix that's not worth it, then it's sentimental value. So all they want is the serial number, right? So you're taking the part of the camera they care about, and you're replacing all the bits that don't work, which is the rest of the camera.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does, and I guess it's just a question of ethics whether you would disclose that had been the method of repair or not. I mean, would it matter? Who knows? I don't know.
I suppose it was fixed, wasn't it? It wasn't working. Now it's working.
Now it's working.
Replace some parts.
No harm is done.
Yeah.
But Lyndon, when you were talking about that Centon, the thrust of my question wasn't so much cameras that are so shitty that you don't want to touch them, but are there any that are like? I'll give you an example. My repair guy, he won't touch my Alpas because he's just like they're too complex.
I agree.
Whereas, and he won't touch like Aries, the Aries 35V rangefinder. So if something were to happen to one of my Alpas, can you fix it?
No. No, I don't expect there's many people that can, not anymore, and do a proper job. Could I take it apart and have a look at it? I could, but what do you value your output at?
I don't know.
That's the question. If you want me to practice on your expensive camera, I'm more than happy to, but you have to sign, a disclaimer that you might get a bag of camera back.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So. But yeah, there's lots of things that I won't repair, not necessarily because I can't do them, but because if I've not looked at it before, have I got the time? Have you got the money for me to practice, learn your camera? Probably not. I can probably do 2 or 3, 4 repairs in the time that I can sort that other camera out.
Yeah.
So if there is someone out there that's more specialized than me and that will do a much better job and get the camera working, then I will direct you always to that person. At the end of the day, you want a camera that's working, and I want a good reputation. So, if I'm going to bodge something for you, that's not doing me any good. And it's not doing you any good either. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, it really does.
Johnny, there is one more question on that list.
Oh, there is. Did I miss one?
It's the early Nicole one.
Hold on one moment. I'm going to.
His brain has just censored out the word Nikon.
No, for some reason, my email was not. Maybe I just forgot to copy the last question. Oh yeah, there is in fact another question here, isn't there? Okay, it's from Julian Holden, August 10th. Early Nikkor 105 cm lenses. And the question is, hi guys, a novice question for you all on an early Nikkor P 105 cm sonar F mount. Unlike later versions, this lens doesn't have retaining screws on the rear of the lens mount. Is that going to affect how easily it can be easily to be disassembled in order to service? It has sticky aperture blades. Similarly, I have an LTM rangefinder version, the Nikkor PC, of the same lens that would benefit from servicing, as it has a stiff focus and aperture ring. It currently has an LTM to M adapter that I haven't been able to remove without undue force. So I don't know if it has the same issue regarding the retaining screws. Again, does this affect how easily it may be to disassemble this lens to perform a CLA? Thanks for your podcast. Keep up the great work. Keep safe and continue to be like Karl. Cheers, Jay. You okay there, Perry?
Sorry. No, I'm laughing at something really stupid, so just ignore me. You said 105 centimeters twice instead of 10.5 centimeters. So I'm just imagining a meter.
Oh, did I? Okay.
I'm just imagining a meter long Nikkor lens.
Yeah, it would be awesome. That's why I said it, because it would be awesome.
It's like your worst nightmare. It's like a Nikkor lens the size of like a small human being.
So Lyndon, have you got any thoughts on that?
It just comes apart a different way, really. I mean, take a lot of the Pentax screw lenses. They don't have screws on the back. You've got to go through the front, to get the rear off. If somebody knows what they're...
I was going to say I've seen that happen with the Pentax. Is it it's the fast wide angle lens with a big bulbous lens on it. What's that one, Perry?
You asked me about Pentax lens?
Yeah, you know which one it is. So is it a 2.3 or something like that?
Oh, the 35 2.3.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, and I've seen a rear element cleaned on one of those, and it starts at the front of the lens and just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. It's like going into a TARDIS. You're thinking, surely you can't go any deeper into this. You're going to be into the basement before you get there. Sorry, Lyndon.
No, is there more?
Well, it certainly went deep enough, that lens did anyway. But no, it's like I say though, there's more than one way to actually get into a lens. So
it just sounds like a really early version. I say the optics are probably all the same. All the gubbins on the inside's the same. They've just put one in a rangefinder mount and one in a SLR mount. But for easy, it is a lot easier if you can go in the back, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can actually get to the aperture and fix the aperture.
That is what she said.
Yeah, sorry, I was yawning while I said that. What she said.
The 105 LTM version that Julian's asking about, the F mount version, you can't just like unscrew the front, whereas the LTM version you can. Because that's how those Nikkor lenses are assembled. So this idea that it has an adapter that you can't remove without undue force, I think you can use some undue force there because it's probably just screwed on really tight. So what I would do is unscrew the optics, because you can just unscrew the optics at the aperture ring, set those aside, and then just take the helicoid and crank that, because there's no screw holding the adapter in. It's probably on really tight unless some idiot has glued it.
Well, gluing's the worry, isn't it? Because people do things like that, don't they?
Well, and of course, there's the old trick: the back cap of the old Leica M caps. They have 4 little teeth on them, and that is specifically meant to be a little tool for unsticking LTM M adapters off LTM lenses. So that's what that back of that cap is actually for. So it's actually, if you use the cap, and it works, it come right off. So that's worth considering also, that use the right tool to take them off.
Yeah.
Although I have stripped that plastic before.
Oh yeah, it's possible, but it's just probably really tightly friction fit, and it's been on a long time, so it should definitely come off.
Talking about dodgy repairs and things like that, I imagine that's something you hardly ever come across, do you, Lyndon? Where somebody's done something that's a little bit odd inside a camera or a lens?
No, you do see it quite often. It's one of the worst things when you get a camera and you look at it, you think, someone's been in there before me. Because effectively, if I do a repair, you shouldn't know I've done it, other than the camera's working or the lens is working. You shouldn't go, I can see where he's, taking the screws out and all the trims falling off. So if you can see where someone's been before, that's always a telltale sign that it might not be legit. I do have 2 lenses in at the moment that have both suffered that, which I've got to do at some point. Should I mention what they are? Would that be?
Yeah.
We're not telling.
No, okay. So one is 100mm f2 Minolta PG lens. Was it PF lens? It's an early Minolta SLR lens,
and it's got a slightly different aesthetic to them than most Minoltas of the age, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really early. Yeah, and I don't think recently's been in there, but somebody's been in there and made a right old mess. So I've got to do that. But the worst one I've got at the moment, for just because of the nature of it, not the complex, the complexity of it, is I think it's a Konica standard 50mm f 1.2, where someone's declicked it but in the process, they've taken some of the aperture stop down levers, taken that off basically, and it's got a load of ball bearings in it that holds it all in place. So they've obviously taken that apart, and all the ball bearings have just, well, I could only find 2 in the end. So I've got to find some ball bearings of the right size and put it all back together, which is not a great job.
Isn't it just sort of a law of physics that any round thing with ball bearings in it needs at least 3? I mean, it's a very minimum.
Well, this one, sometimes they're all ball, it's all full of ball bearings, but sometimes they'll have little rods that have been bent to the right size, right shape, and it'll be 4 of those, 5 of those, whatever, and a ball bearing in between each one. That's a cheaper way of doing it, but I'm pretty sure this one is all. You'd find those rods, wouldn't you? You wouldn't lose those. Wow. They're probably like 2-3 centimeters long sometimes. Yeah, so that's the worst job. So yeah, if someone's been in there before you and made a right old mess, it is difficult. And if it's something that you've not done before or not seen before or had no reason to take apart, it makes it even worse because you don't know what it was like before before you went in there. Yeah. So it's a lot of guesswork, and it just takes more time and scratching of the head.
That's one of those things. Like, if I'm ever going to buy a lens, like on eBay or something, I always just look for, like obvious signs that the screw heads are all buggered up and there's slips from people trying to take the rings off and stuff. I mean, it seems like it's pretty obvious when someone's really horribly hacked into something that they didn't know how to fix.
Yeah. Yeah, you should. I mean, I was always taught you shouldn't mark anything on a lens. If you mark it, you need to replace it, which, sometimes things do happen. And these days, have you got anything you can replace it with? Well, probably not. But you sort of, you've got to be sensible. You've got to tidy up after yourself, and and make sure the thing's presentable and is not dodgy. So yeah, that's what I do. Well, I try to do anyway. Yeah.
All right. So that's all. Really, this time, all the emails done.
There are 2 more lens-specific, lens cleaning-related questions on the Facebook thread. Do you want? Should we read those out?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Lyndon, should I read them out because I have them in front of me?
Yeah,
go for it.
Okay,
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one's from Anu Jindal, and he says, "I'm curious about the level of concern there should be about cleaning inner lens elements, even the inside or front or rear elements." Specifically with regards to decentering the lens. Most of us don't have lens collimators, so is this a no-no?
Well, it's like anything. If you haven't got the tools to do the job, then maybe don't do it. Or when you take something apart, you need, especially a lens, make a lot of notes. If you're taking the optics apart, make a note of where that optic was if you're worried about it being decentered. Normally, it's not a major issue. It's normally the more expensive lenses that you'll pick up these problems. So if you haven't got the tools, don't do it. If you're going to clean under a front optic, just note where it was. You can make a small mark on the edge of the optic with a marker pen, something like that, and put it roughly back, in the orientation it was. The only trouble comes when, again, if somebody's taken it apart before you, was that the original position of it? So, yeah.
But if it's one of those lenses where, say, the front or rear part just screws off, is it generally fine to kind of screw it off, blow it with a blow or clean off some crap on the inside and then screw it back?
If you're taking the front and rear clusters off, then yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you're not going to have a major problem. But you've got to also take into account that these lenses are quite old now. So, take a Nikon lens. The focusing is probably quite sloppy. You've probably got a lot of movement in that front optic, which will probably cause you more decentering than if somebody's put the front optic in the wrong position. So I suppose it depends on how critical you are. Yeah. I mean, take a modern, Canon EOS lens, a kit lens. The amount of wobble on the front of that, I wouldn't worry about decentering.
All right. The second, it's a similar question from Juan Suarez. And he says, I'd love to know more about cleaning uncoated lenses. In particular, how aggressive can one be when trying to remove haze on an uncoated lens?
Yeah. If you've got problems, sometimes it can be the optics itself that's, front optics get quite badly scratched over the years on the very old cameras. So there's not a lot you can do about that. So how aggressive? I'd say don't be aggressive at all. That's my phone going. If you're going to cause more damage to the lens by whatever you're doing, then don't do it. The lens is as it is. You can't really repolish lenses yourself.
Have you ever had an issue with like not wanting to remove blooming on an uncoated lens?
Yeah, it was always back in the day. If there was a coating issue on a lens, sometimes we would remove it. But my feelings these days is it's got to be pretty bad for you to remove it, because you can end up causing more problems. You'll have no anti-reflection on that front optic.
Yeah. No, but I'm talking about, with uncoated lenses, sometimes they develop that like natural coating from oxidation. And, we were discussing a couple episodes back how back in the day, people would not want you to clean that off when cleaning the lens.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. I wouldn't worry.
You just mentioned that about removing the coating. Then there are some legitimate reasons for why some people actually might want to remove the coating of a lens. What are the methods for doing that?
Well, I wouldn't. First of all, I wouldn't do it. People will use a mild abrasive to do it. But I think these days you're going to cause more damage to the lens. So I wouldn't remove any coatings.
So, but what you're saying is, if I know that you wouldn't do it, but as I say, there are people out there that do want to do it, especially for cinematography purposes, and there are absolutely some people that do that. Say with Helios lenses, for instance, Helios 44s. Are you saying the way to do that will be with an abrasive, or would there be chemical ways of doing that? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if you are going to remove a coating, the ways I've seen people do it mainly are the sort of thing that you might remove a scratch on a car, to polish, that sort of thing. But these days I really, I would never do that. I've done it in the past on some lenses where the coating's been so bad, so horrendously bad that you've removed them. But in my experience, it doesn't improve it; it just makes it worse. And anything abrasive on a lens could damage the optics. It could change the character of the lens as well. So, it's not something I'd recommend. So I can't really, tell you what to use.
Okay, that's fine.
Maybe some wet and dry. Don't know.
Yeah, I just the thought of putting abrasives onto an element just goes through me much in the same way as I think it does with you. So
yeah.
But there you go. Let's just take a quick 2 minute break, because I think we might be getting to the end of things. Is that? Am I correct in thinking that, guys? Johnny.
That's all the emails and questions.
All right. So should I start to wind things down, or is there anything that, and this includes yourself, Lyndon, that we might want to talk about while we're still here?
I'm okay.
Perry,
I think.
I have one thing that I want to mention, but it's not really related to lens repair. It's related to something that Lyndon was talking about earlier. Actually, no. You know what? I actually don't want to do it on the recording. Lyndon, what's a good price for a Kershaw, Crankshaw, whatever?
Do you know what? I knew the moment I told you about that you'd want one.
Yeah, it's strange.
I found one locally.
Oh, right. Well,
how much is it?
It's a Kershaw Curlew 2 with the Taylor Hobson Roytal 105 3.8.
Yeah, that's the lens you want. So
that's the lens I want. Yes,
the 3's nicer, but
it's around 300 quid.
Yeah, that's probably okay. What you've got to watch with the Kershaw's is the part of the folding mechanism.
He doesn't care about that.
Well, you will, because it's
He just
made
wants a lens.
Oh, he just wants the lens. Oh, don't worry.
No. I'm gonna shoot it on film, so it'll stay on the camera for now until I put it on my Pentax. Until I inevitably put it on my Pentax 6.7. But go on with what I should watch out for.
Well, okay. Well, first of all the leatherettes will be peeling off, and I think you've got to be really careful with the glue you use on those because they just melt. This is an English-made camera, so that's your major problem. And then the struts that hold the bed in place, if they've got any kinks, any bends in them, don't buy them. Don't buy it because they'll just snap and they're all riveted in place. So unless you know somebody who can do a decent repair on that, manufacture some new ones, just don't buy it. But you could just buy it for the lens, so But I suppose for £300, you'd want one that was pretty nice.
Yeah. Is it difficult to find just the lens?
Yeah.
Not that Simon was right.
Yeah. Because nobody would take that lens off that camera because that would be wrong.
Yeah, clearly. Just so you know, the two with that lens that have sold on eBay recently have gone for £322 and £330.
Is there? I saw those, but is there a difference between the Curlew 2 and the Curlew 3 in terms of lens and whatever?
Hang on, let me check my book.
Because the two that sold on eBay, Simon, you're looking at are Curlew 3s, but the one locally is a Curlew 2, although they appear to have the same lens.
So the 3 has got double exposure prevention and automatic film spacing. So that's the difference between the 3 and the 2.
That's it?
That's it, according to this.
Oh, so it's just red window on the 2? Okay.
Yeah, must be.
Well, the one that sold on eBay was as is. So this dude actually has sample photos, so I think I might go check this out. Damn it. Why you gotta give me gas? No, it's all good. I hear Taylor Hobson and just I get a huge erection.
Yeah, so. That's a really good lens. So yeah, get yourself one, and it's a folder, so it might take some of the heat off. You bought a folder.
I have loads of folders.
But you were disparaging
some of your best
about
friends
them.
are folders, I know. Yeah.
Okay.
So Perry, do you want to try and do that? Oh no, that was your segue, isn't it? So you've got nothing more to ask of Lyndon, have you? Or have you?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, I think we're pretty much coming to the end of our allotted time. So I think we should start to wind things down. And first thing I want to do is to say thank you to those people since last week that have helped us out via coffee.com. And they are, this goes from the 7th of August, James Thorpe, thank you very much, James. Eric Joas, something like that. And Eric says, this new Rolly Gas podcast will ruin me. We like Rollies a lot now, it seems. Nigel Cliff, it says it was a holiday in the UK, not a staycation. Rant over. I think we maligned Nigel Cliff last week. Can't remember what it was because we malign him quite often, I think. So sorry about that, Nigel, and we'll think up something else to malign you with next time. Brian Woolworth as well. Thank you very, very much, Brian. Lyndon, it's been absolutely fantastic having you with us.
Yeah, no problem. It's been interesting.
Yeah, no, it's been great fun, and we've not mentioned how people can get hold of you, because your day job, your business is repairing cameras and lenses and things like that. I assume you do binoculars as well.
No.
Oh,
no,
that's
not
interesting.
binoculars.
Okay. So if somebody wishes to send you something, what's the process? How would somebody get in touch with you, and how do you deal with a new inquiry for something?
Yeah, well, you can contact me on Twitter. I'm on there quite a lot. You can email me through my website, and or phone me. I like to speak to people in the real world as well, so you can always phone me, and I'll give you my details, and we can sort of discuss what you've got and whether it's something I can do for you.
So on Twitter, what's your handle on Twitter so people can find you that way?
It's at Londinium Camera, and my website is londiniumcameras.com.
That's good. And your phone number's on the website as well, isn't it? Is that right?
All my details are on there. Yeah, where you can contact me. Yeah,
that's it. And I assume it's going to be a process of they would ring you up or email you. You would then have a chat to see what the problem is and whether or not that's something that's you wish to take on. Because I mean, one thing is very, very clear to us that if you take work on that you're confident of being able to achieve a certain standard of work, and there are going to be some jobs that you've already said as much. If there's something that's specialist, you will direct people somewhere else. What happens with the work that sort of sits in between?
I mean, I will take on odd things sometimes. I suppose it depends on. Sometimes it's how much work I've got in. So but if you talk to me about it, I do know a lot of cameras and lenses. I've done lots over the years, but that doesn't necessarily mean I want to do them any longer. So just ask me, and I'll see what I can do. Some of it can be spares dependent. If I haven't got a scrap version or something that I can put towards making it go again, it's not for me. But always ask.
Yeah, so that itself would suggest potentially that if you do have a relatively straightforward problem, but it's going to be a spare part issue, that if the person with the problem with the camera went looking for for spares or a donor camera, that might actually help encourage, well, not so much encourage, but that might lead you to taking the work on. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it can make a difference sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I do have spares for lots of different things, but common items, things like prisms on Pentax K1000s and Spotmatics, they're really starting to show problems. So I'm always looking for those, and they're always getting used up really quickly. And the Olympus ones as well, the OM1s and 2s, as you probably know, they deteriorate. So common things, they're difficult to get hold of. So if you've got one, to supply me to sort your repair out, that's even better. It'd be cheaper for you as well.
But I think it's also worth just stressing it's worth actually contacting you first before somebody goes out, finds the donor camera, and say, "I've got the donor camera. Will you now fix the magnets on this Canon T90?"
Give me a call first, and I'll let you know if I can do it or not, and try and help you find someone else if I can't. But what is quite good is I will quite often turn to the Twitter community because they will always know somebody who can do something. So it's quite easy to get a solution to most problems. If I can't do it, somebody else will definitely be able to do it, and we can track them down for you.
Brilliant. Right, well, let's do shout-outs. Perry, have you got any shout-outs?
Shout-outs this week? No.
Okay, Johnny, have you got any shout-outs?
I'm sure I do, and I'm just not... They're not occurring to me. Okay. Yes, I do. No, wait, I do. I have a shout-out to the Negative Positives podcast because I did that on Monday. I didn't wake up in time to do this podcast, but I woke up in time to do that podcast on Monday. So you can check that out. And I want to thank the Gutter Man and the whole team there for having me on again. Andre and Roxana, that was loads of fun. So thank you for having me back on.
That's cool. I'm looking forward to hearing that. And I've got a shout out that I should have done this a few weeks ago, and that's to Ethan Moses of Camera Dactyl and Homemade Camera Podcast, because he took me under his wing a few weeks ago along with Graham Young, and I'm not sure if I've actually mentioned this or not, but I'm going to do it again. And he did a lesson on drawing, how to draw isometric drawings and things like that. and it was fun. It was useful, and yeah, thank you very much for taking that time out, Ethan. That was good, and thank you, Graham, for being part of that as well. So that's my shout out there. Lyndon, have you got any shout outs?
I haven't got a shout out, but I've forgot to mention this. If anyone is interested in learning camera repairs, there's something I've recently came across, which is a website which has got a whole load of information on there for you, and even some basic courses of camera repair. So if you want to learn about it, this might be the place to go. Now, the website is learncamerarepair.com. So if you go on there, that's got a whole load of information, service manuals, you name it, and it's run by a good group of people that they're trying to help people pass on their knowledge about repairs, and they run the courses there. There's also a Facebook group which is attached to it, which I think you can join as well. If you fancy, but all the information is on learncamerarepair.com. It's not I don't think there's anything to pay. It's not a subscription or anything. So, have a look.
Cool. That's a great tip there. Right. Okay. So back to Perry. How can people get in touch with you or look at the things that you do out there?
You can find me on Flickr and Instagram at Perry G.
And Johnny?
Yeah, I'm not anywhere. You can come and speak with me socially distanced on my front porch. And you can find me on Instagram, but I'm locked down on there, so you won't be able to see anything.
Yeah, you're not accepting any new members again you've done your intake this year, haven't you?
Yeah, I was sort of shamed into. Apparently, Roxana on the negative positives was in my queue. I was shamed into going, and I approved a bunch of follower people the other night. So because I felt so bad because I have no idea. I just never check it. I'm just never on there. So I did actually go into the queue and approve some people until I got frustrated by all of the spam follower people wanting to be following me on Facebook, which is why I am locked down in the first place. So anyway. Yeah.
So if people want to get in touch with the show, what's the best way of doing that?
Well, that's easy. You can do that by emailing the show at classiclensespodcast@gmail.com. And of course you can go to the podcast website at classiclensespodcast.com, where, by the way, you can buy merchandise. You like T-shirts and such. And just released last night was the brand new Make Bokake Great Again ball cap. So you should probably pick one of those up in honor of the upcoming elections here in the United States. Even if your candidate doesn't win, it's still going to be a win for Bokake. So you want to make
it's a very distinctive red hat, and that could be potentially mistaken from a distance as well.
It could be, yeah. You could possibly be mistaken from a distance, but Bokake is the operative phrase on that cap. So there's that. Also, if you're on Instagram, check out Best Vintage Lens, of course, our buddies over there. And if you're on YouTube and feel like listening and reading the podcast, you can do that as well by looking for us there. What else can they do? How else can people? Well, and of course, there's the Facebook group, Classic Lenses Podcast on Facebook.
Cool. And see, it was ages ago since we last asked Lyndon where is about his contact details. What are they again, Lyndon?
They're the same as before, Simon, surely. So it's Londinium Camera at Londinium Camera on Twitter, and it's londiniumcameras.com.
Excellent. And
nice and confusing.
Yes, and I'm on Twitter as Simon4. I'm on Instagram as Simon Forster Photographic, which is also the name of my website as well, which is co.uk, where I have a range of lots of lens caps, of hard to get lens caps, which I make. And actually, I'm just about to introduce a new range of lens caps for those people, because we know that silver lenses on black cameras and black lenses on silver cameras can be a problem for some people. I've now introduced silver lens caps, or silver-ish lens caps for your silver lenses. So that's properly exciting stuff. So I'm rolling those out across the range as we speak. So get your silver lens caps at simonforsterphotographic.co.uk, except I've actually only got them on my eBay page at the moment, but just look for, I don't know, Exacta lens cap, and the chances are you'll find my site and on the eBay, and you can see body caps and all those kind of great things there. So other than that, I'm on the large format photography podcast with Andrew Bartram roughly once every fortnight. Our music is by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com. It's called Octo Blues, and that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed this week's show, and if you can, be like Carl.
Is it over?